So Caroline Dade is here now. She's going to help us dig a little deeper into the results so far. Still very early in the vote count, but let's go over some trends that you're seeing, starting with the Democratic race.
Yeah, so one thing we've been watching here with the Democrats was this campaign for some voters to vote uninstructed. So if we take a look here, right now uninstructed about 10,500 votes. That's about 8% of the Democratic votes that are in so far. This isn't going to win Wisconsin by any means, but the question is, are there enough voters here to send a message to Joe Biden, right? Like, that's their goal of this campaign. It's progressive voters who say they're not happy with how the president is handling the situation in Gaza, the military aid the U.S. is providing to Israel. And so this is kind of their protest vote in a sense. They want to send that message that Joe Biden isn't a rubber-stamped candidate for the Democratic Party. He's not going to necessarily cruise to being renominated as the party's nominee. They want to say, okay, we are a core block of your party. You need us to win in November. Listen to us. We're not happy with this. And that's the thing we're going to be watching here, because if we look at this uninstructed vote, it's really interesting in our area. So right now, 10,700 votes statewide. 5,600 of those are in Dane County.
Wow.
And this is a county Joe Biden has to run up the score in November if he wants to win re-election. We know elections in Wisconsin often very, very close. Every vote counts. And so if Joe Biden loses his progressive base in Wisconsin, in Dane County, Milwaukee County, places like that, he could be in real trouble. He has to have those voters if he wants to beat Donald Trump again. So that's really part of the uninstructed campaign. We saw this in 2020 in the primary with Bernie Sanders. Again, there was a pretty high vote against Joe Biden in that primary. Those voters all came home in November. They supported Joe Biden. He won Wisconsin in 2020. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, is what happens with that uninstructed campaign. How much support does it get tonight once we get full results in? And then what do those voters do come November? If we take a look, though, on the Republican side, again, no surprise here. Donald Trump cruising to victory. As we said, the AP has already called this race. But if we go again if we look statewide, this is kind of a heat map. So those lighter colors show where his support is a little bit weaker. Again, let's go to Dane County. This isn't a Republican stronghold by any means, but Nikki Haley has 22% of the vote from Republicans. Statewide, she's at 13%. So Donald Trump is obviously going to win the Republican primary here. AP's already called it. But what's happening statewide? Milwaukee suburbs, Ozaukee, Washington, Waukesha, these are all counties that are really, really important for Republicans if they want to win statewide office. If you want to be governor, if you want to be senator, if you want to be president and win Wisconsin as a Republican, you need the Milwaukee suburbs. And what we've seen over the past few presidential elections, we saw this in the gubernatorial election in 2022, was these counties, instead of being this dark blood red, come November, they're maybe a lighter red. Maybe they're not purple yet, but they're getting a little bit closer. These are where you have a lot of suburban housewives, mothers. That's the core demographic that Donald Trump has struggled with, and Nikki Haley has done really, really well. So if we look at Waukesha County itself, Nikki Haley has 7,600 voters there. Statewide, she's 24. So that's a big chunk of the support she's getting is in these suburban counties, where if Donald Trump wants to win Wisconsin, if he wants to be president again with the support of the Badger State, he's going to have to find a way to win over some of the Nikki Haley voters, because if he continues to lose support, and they're called the WOW counties and the BOW counties. So WOW counties are around Milwaukee, BOW counties up near Green Bay, where Donald Trump was again today. Right now, it's looking brown. Outagamie, Winnebago, pretty red. Donald Trump is doing pretty well in those counties. But part of the reason he lost Wisconsin in 2020 was he did much worse there than he did in 2016. So it'll be interesting for him to see kind of how those counties go, what the enthusiasm is for another Trump candidacy, because if he wants to be president, he has to shore up the Republican support there.
So a lot to dig into here.
The
uninstructed voters will have a big say in this presidential election.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to follow that storyline to see, obviously a lot of progressive voters right now not super happy with the Democratic Party, but this is an election we knew pretty much what was going to happen today. Donald Trump, Joe Biden expected to easily win. Come November, when it's the presidential election, a lot more is on the line. It'll be interesting to see what those voters do.
Okay, so we'll get some more numbers, and we'll have more coming up tonight at 10.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Caroline.